This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. A moment later, Yunxiao had stepped into the area of the red aurora. From a distance, he could feel extremely powerful primordial energy fluctuations, and the surrounding seabed was also hit by the force. The tides became chaotic, and vortexes of all sizes formed in the sea, devouring each other. On the left, two people were also rushing over, their speed not much slower than Yunxiao's thunder escape. Under the violent impact of the essence force in front of him, circles of waves rolled up into the sky. They actually broke away from the sea and came charging over like walls. The ocean was filled with a surprisingly brutal aura, which condensed the waves into an iron wall. As expected of a 9th-rank intermediate-level sea beast. It can't be underestimated. Die. One of the martial supremes in front of him shouted. An arm guard appeared on his right arm with a few purple lights spinning on it. Then, he threw a punch. Bang bang bang. The fist force was condensed and did not dissipate, shattering the waves that were sweeping over. Water vapor filled the sky, and one could not see the figure clearly. Not good. Yunxiao said solemnly, the man in front doesn't seem to be able to hold on. Let's use the aurora to attract iron tears away and save him. After he finished speaking, he unfurled the yellow flag in his hand. A yellow light instantly broke through the sky, and the entire sky turned yellow. The other two also took out their light flags at the same time. One blue and one green, the three-colored light crossed each other in the air and gradually fused together, illuminating the entire sky and sea with a strange color. Under the light of the aurora in the distance, iron tears stopped attacking and a black shadow quickly advanced on the sea surface, running toward them. Be careful, this sea beast is not simple. The friend with the red flag seems to have died. One of the martial sovereign's face turned ashen as he spoke with extreme vigilance. In the end, he did not finish his sentence. However, everyone could sense that the martial supreme's aura had already disappeared. Yunxiao's expression changed. Let's not fight it head-on. Retreat quickly and draw it over with the aurora. We'll attack together when Mr. Liu comes. He said. The other two also agreed. The three of them raised their small flags as they quickly retreated toward the auras that were coming from behind. How did that sea beast sink to the bottom of the sea? It's sinking in a straight line, one of the martial sovereigns suddenly said. It didn't come here by traveling through the sea. Could it have sensed danger and stopped chasing the aurora? The three of them stopped, their faces filled with confusion. Suddenly, Yunxiao's divine sense flickered as he cried out in alarm, not good. A whirlpool had appeared on the surface of the sea under the feet of the three of them. It was rotating silently, and a huge head that looked like a pill popped out. Then, several attacks broke through the sea surface and soared into the sky. They were actually the tentacles of the sea beast. The three of them were caught off guard. After Yunxiao shouted, he hurriedly teleported away, but he was blocked by a huge force dozens of meters away, and his teleportation could not penetrate it. At this moment, the three tentacles behind him attacked at an extremely fast speed, almost in the blink of an eye. Yunxiao's face flickered. The attack of this mid-tier sea beast was not something he could block at all. Hurriedly, two yellow lights flashed in his hands, and the yellow aurora flag was thrown away in an instant. In his other hand, the mirror of the evening clouds of great sorrow appeared, and he shone it on Iron Tear's tentacle. Iron Tear's tentacles paused for a moment. One of the three pursuing tentacles directly rolled toward the yellow aurora flag, while the other two were also slowed down by the sunset cloud mirror. Yunxiao seized the opportunity and hurriedly transformed into a bolt of lightning, flying into the sky. At this moment, the other two had also escaped the attack with their own divine abilities. One of them had suffered a considerable injury, but they were both doing their best to escape along the surface of the sea. Bang! The two of them almost collided with a force at the same time and were jolted back. What's going on? There's a barrier? One of them's expression changed drastically, turning as white as a sheet of paper. The other injured man also shouted in fear, "Not good." This beast has its own barrier, what should we do? At this moment, more than 10 tentacles attacked the two of them at an astonishing speed. Their destructive power was extremely strong, and wherever they passed, the space would be shattered. Quickly throw the Aurora flag and escape into the sky. Yunxiao suddenly cried out. The two of them immediately came to their senses and hurriedly threw the Aurora flags into the distance. Sure enough, Iron Tear paused for a moment, then split off some of its tentacles to catch the Aurora flags. The two of them immediately turned into beams of light and shot up into the sky, heading toward Yunxiao. Even in the sky, they were quickly blocked by a force and had nowhere to run. The three of them turned completely pale. Why aren't Mr. Liu and the others here yet? Don't tell me those people saw how powerful the beast was and ran away, one of them asked anxiously. We can't sense the aura of the outside world inside this enchantment, Yunxiao said in a deep voice. But earlier, we could sense that they were coming. Now, it's up to us whether we can hold on or not. As long as we work together, we can hold on until Mr. Liu and the others come, let alone defeat this beast. Right. This beast is only at the mid-9th rank. I don't believe it can kill the three of us so easily. One of the martial sovereigns calmed down. He quickly made hand seals in front of him and a golden battle suit appeared. It emitted the power of a barrier and protected him. He waved his hand in the air, and the air trembled slightly. Then, a huge saber appeared in his hand and he carried it on his shoulder. Yunxiao's heart was immediately relieved when he saw this man. This man had the strength of a 5-star martial emperor, and with the 9th tier battle suit and saber, his strength was immeasurable. The other injured man was stunned for a moment. He looked at the 5-star martial emperor and smiled bitterly. This friend must be from a great aristocratic family, right? If I had such resources, I wouldn't have to risk my life for Liu Jianba. He spread his hands in front of him and formed a halberd. It was an 8th grade weapon. The 5-star martial emperor also frowned and said, "You're a 4-star martial emperor, but you don't even have a 9th tier profound weapon?" That person said bitterly, "This time, I'm working for Liu Jianba. He promised me a 9th tier profound weapon. If I can't make it through, then he'll save his profound weapon." Yunxiao's expression froze as he suddenly cried out, "Don't say such dejected words. The sea beast is here." His body immediately glowed with golden light, and his 3-headed and 6-armed Dharma form appeared. Each of his arms was holding a profound level weapon or making hand seals. His Dharma form was solemn and exuded a majestic and divine chi. With a light touch of his left hand, the 9 northern heaven cold star swords appeared in front of him, forming a 9-sword diagram that could be used to attack and defend. The injured martial supreme's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Those profound armaments were all 9th tier armaments. As a 4-star martial emperor, he was holding an 8th tier halberd. His opponent was only a martial honor, but he had more than a dozen 9th tier profound armaments. How could he be at ease? Young Master Yunxiao, the enemy is right in front of us. Why don't you give me a 9th tier mystic weapon and I'll return it to you after the enemy retreats? Cut the crap. Yunxiao shouted. Stop talking nonsense. If you concentrate on facing the enemy, how can you control these 9th tier profound armaments in an instant? Dozens of tentacles shot up from below like a fairy scattering flowers, and they made an extremely ear-piercing sound that made people's bodies numb and their backs cold. Leave these disgusting things to me. The 5-star martial emperor took a step forward. He moved his right hand, and the huge saber on his shoulder fell. A golden light flashed as he slashed down. Killing blade flowing arrow. The blade light seemed to have split the world apart. The sky was split apart just like that, and the enchantment trembled a few times. Black cracks appeared in the void under the blade light, cutting off the countless tentacles, turning them into countless pieces of meat and scattering them in the air. What made people shiver was that the countless pieces of meat were still jumping in the air. Each of them had countless small suction cups on it, as if they were pulling each other. They actually began to suck each other, turning into a ball and getting bigger and bigger. Gulp. The three of them swallowed their saliva. The scene in front of them was simply too disgusting. The immemorial heavenly eye on Yunxiao's forehead suddenly opened, and a stream of divine fire turned into a phoenix, which let out an ancient cry and burned at the meatball. The divine fire burned fiercely, and the meatballs that filled the sky were all ignited. However, it seemed to have no effect on them. They still gathered from all directions into the huge flame and fused with the meatball inside. What? He's not afraid of fire? The 4-star martial emperor's face was filled with horror. He could also sense that the fire unleashed by Yunxiao was by no means an ordinary fire, and logically speaking, things in the sea should be most afraid of fire. I understand. Yunxiao suddenly cried out. He quickly performed an incantation gesture with both hands to withdraw the flame, while he raised the hammer high in his other arm and smashed it down. Lu Jianba had his eyes on his lightning power, so it was obvious that this sea beast was afraid of lightning. The ancient character of Maha, which represented the rule of thunder, appeared under the hammer and transformed into a thunder hell, which suddenly struck down. Boom, boom, boom. The thunderbolt struck the ball of meat and immediately displayed its great effect. The entire ball of meat was instantly shattered into countless pieces of meat. Roar. This seemed to have angered Iron Tears, who was on the ground. His pill-like big head shook violently. At a closer look, one would find that there were countless small holes on his head. At the same time, he was breathing, which produced an extremely harsh sound that came from far away. It's a sonic wave attack. The three people's expressions changed drastically. The power of the sound wave directly penetrated their defenses and jolted into their bodies. Yunxiao performed an incantation gesture with both hands and circulated the Great Expansion divine technique to calm his mind. Meanwhile, his other hand formed a sword pattern, and the 9 long swords transformed into a huge sword that slashed at the sky. The arm that was holding the hammer continued to strike down lightning. The lightning was like the power of the heavenly tribulation, shattering the minced meat in the air into powder and falling on the pill's head. Boom. Boom. The lightning struck down one after another, but it was blocked by the Iron Tear's defense. Circles of spiritual pressure shook out, but it was unable to hurt it in the slightest. However, the power of the sound waves was getting stronger. Not good. I'm too weak, this lightning can't hurt him at all. Yunxiao put away the hammer, then summoned the dynasty bell and cast several incantation seals into it, producing a distant and clear sound as he tried his best to resist the sound wave attack. The 4-star martial emperor couldn't hold on any longer. He spat out a large mouthful of blood, and his eyes began to lose their light gradually. His eyes were filled with ruthlessness, and the aura on his body began to become strange. What's going on? The 5-star martial emperor was shocked. He noticed that the 4-star martial emperor was looking at the two of them with a strange expression. He seemed to be unaffected by the sound wave as he walked toward the two of them. The 4-star martial emperor suddenly brandished his halberd and slashed it at Yunxiao. Yunxiao's face turned cold as the hammer appeared in his hand and he suddenly struck the dynasty bell, sending out a wave of lightning. Boom. The force of the 4-star martial emperor's halberd tore the lightning apart, but he was also hit by the lightning and sound waves. The bell sound, in particular, woke him up. It made the expression in his eyes struggle violently, as if he was unwilling to be controlled. Yunxiao saw that he could still be saved, so he struck the dynasty bell with a hammer with one arm and performed an incantation gesture with his other hands, forming a heaven and earth seal with 3 Maha ancient characters shining on it. It was the spiritual attack technique. Suddenly, he teleported in front of the martial sovereign and smashed down. Bang. The 4-star martial emperor was hit by the heaven and earth seal, and then the spiritual attack hit his mind. With the ringing of the dynasty bell, his whole body trembled violently and he was freed from the control. Thank you, thank you. The 4-star martial emperor felt a lingering fear and thanked him profusely. His face had already turned pale from fear. After Yunxiao saved the 4-star martial emperor, Iron Tear's sound wave attack suddenly stopped either because he was tired or something else. The 5-star martial emperor had been paying attention to the sea beast below. He said with an extremely ugly expression, "What's going on? Lu Jianba and the others aren't here yet?" Yunxiao also felt that something was wrong. According to the time, they should have arrived a long time ago. Could it be that they could not break the barrier? Not to mention that it was impossible, even if it couldn't be broken, at least they would feel the vibration of the barrier. It seems that Lu Jianba and the others are unreliable, Yunxiao said with a gloomy face. This iron tear doesn't seem to be as powerful as I thought. Maybe we can kill it if we join forces. Join forces to kill him? The other two's faces were extremely unsightly. From the beginning until now, the three of them had the mentality of running away and waiting for help. They had never thought of fighting. Now that they couldn't rely on the outside world, the three of them gradually accepted and faced reality. Not bad. Iron Tear's strength doesn't seem to be as strong as expected. The three of us have a great chance of winning if we join forces. If it had a way to kill the three of us, we would have been dead long ago, Yunxiao encouraged them. It's time for it to die. Not bad. Young Master Yunxiao is right. A determined look flashed across the five-star martial emperor's face as he said, kill our way out. I want Lu Jianba to give us an explanation. Since the two of you have agreed, I will naturally not object. Although the four-star martial emperor was extremely afraid, he had to muster up his courage and fight with all his might at this time. At this moment, the seawater suddenly changed. The surroundings seemed to be boiling and the entire space was filled with steam, turning it white. Not good, it's evaporating the water. It's coming out of the sea. Yunxiao immediately understood what was going on. Once a sea beast left the sea, its strength would be greatly reduced. This was the seawater environment created by iron tears, which could preserve its strength to the greatest extent. Voila! All of a sudden, a huge object rushed out of the sea, and a black shadow rushed up at an extremely fast speed. It seemed to be able to judge the strength of the crowd, and it attacked the five-star martial sovereign. The loss of the killing blade. The five-star martial emperor's face suddenly changed, and he immediately stopped fighting. He used all his strength to slash his saber. Bang! The 9th tier battle saber directly hit Iron Tear's body. It was as if it had hit a solid metal, and strong sparks burst out. The man and the beast were both sent flying by the huge force. At this moment, the three of them finally saw the true appearance of the Iron Tear. It turned out to be a huge strange crab. The crab's head was like a huge pill, and the back of the head was covered with tentacles. They had all been cut off, and the roots of the tentacles were still shaking. It was extremely ugly. Not very strong. I can win. The five-star martial emperor was overjoyed after the attack. He shouted and his combat strength increased by several folds. He turned into a beam of light and rushed over. He turned into countless shadows and waved his saber. A series of bang 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 sounds were heard as light scattered in all directions. Although the crab was extremely agile, it was clearly not as good as a human in battle. It could only defend itself. The four-star martial emperor was overjoyed when he saw this. I'll go help him. In an instant, he turned into a ray of light and rushed forward. He waved his halberd and immediately engaged in a battle. Yunxiao felt a little strange in his heart. Although the Iron Tear had left the sea and its strength had been greatly reduced, it should not only have this little power. It seemed to only have the strength of the initial 9th tier, and Lu Jianba seemed to be able to deal with it alone. However, this was not the time to think about this. The most important thing now was to break the enchantment and get out as soon as possible. He retracted his golden body Dharma form. With the crab's current state, he didn't need to use his full strength. He drew a circle in front of him with his hands, and the wind fire crocodile was immediately summoned. It turned into a giant crocodile man and pounced toward the strange crab below. The two martial sovereigns were taken aback when they saw the gator man's stance. They quickly stepped aside. Roar! The gator man pounced on the Iron Tear and bit it with his mouth wide open. Boom! 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 The crocodile man's body was constantly crushed by Iron Tear's pincers, but it was not affected at all. It still bit down firmly and swallowed bit by bit. Yuan Shao was overjoyed. He performed a hand seal and said, "Come back." The iron tear struggled desperately in the crocodile's mouth, but it could not break free. It was carried up by the crocodile, and with a point of Yuan Shao's hand seal, it was sucked into the divine realm tablet. This swan and I, where are the sea beasts? The 5-star martial emperor was completely dumbfounded. The battle that he had thought would be extremely difficult had ended so easily? "That's my summoned beast," Yuan Shao said with a smile. "I'm a beast tamer. The sea beast should have been eaten by my summoned beast, right? You ate the Kasaya?" The two of them widened their eyes in horror. What kind of summoned beast could eat a 9th rank intermediate level sea beast? Advanced 9th rank? Just as the two of them were in a daze, the barrier finally shattered, gradually revealing the scene outside. Suddenly, a powerful elemental energy fluctuation could be felt. This is a Kasaya. The three of them were shocked. They saw a huge iron tear outside, which was more than 10 times the size of the one they were fighting. Half of its body was exposed, standing on the sea like an island. Countless huge tentacles danced in the air, and several rays of light kept dodging in the air. They were fighting hard. It was Lu Jianba and the others. Bang. While the three of them were still in a daze, a huge tentacle struck down from the sky and directly blew up the 4-star martial emperor in the air, leaving no corpse behind. Under this attack, the tentacle seemed to have suffered a great injury, and it directly fell down powerlessly. There were already more than 10 huge tentacles hanging on the sea surface, which should have been scrapped from the battle. Whoosh! Another 2 huge tentacles came at Yuan Shao and the 5-stars martial emperor. The tentacles were as thick as 5 or 6 people's arms, and the countless tiny suction cups on them were opening and closing, making them look very disgusting. Both of them felt a chill run down their spines, and they fled into the sky at their highest speed. Boom! Boom! The huge tentacles pierced into the sea, causing a huge splash. 2 water pillars shot up into the sky. The moment Lu Jianba saw the two of them, he was both angry and happy. He shouted, "Where did you guys go just now?" The 5-star martial emperor was also shocked and furious. He roared, "We were trapped by an even smaller iron tear just now. It wasn't easy for us to kill it and escape." "Lu Jianba, is this the monster you want us to kill?" His eyes were about to spew fire. He hated that he couldn't change sides and kill Lu Jianba. Just now, the small one had already wasted their strength. This big one was obviously several times stronger. How were they going to fight? "What? You guys killed a small one?" Lu Jianba was stunned for a moment. Then, he said ecstatically, "What about the corpse? Where's Iron Tear's corpse?" Just as the 5-star martial emperor was about to answer, a few tentacles suddenly attacked him from the sky and immediately interrupted their conversation. All of them began to move around, and every move was extremely dangerous. Yuan Xiao's face was also extremely gloomy. This huge iron tear was indeed a mid-9th tier beast, but it was definitely at the peak of that level. With a sweep of his divine sense, he found that there were only 6 people left. In addition to the person who discovered Iron Tears first, 2 more people had fallen. "Lu Jianba, it's impossible to win against this Iron Tears. If we continue fighting, he'll die without a doubt. Forgive me for not accompanying you." The martial emperor powerhouse with muscles all over his body finally couldn't help but speak. Then, without waiting for Lu Jianba's reply, he turned into a beam of light and escaped. His words immediately gained everyone's approval. They had long wanted to run and were just waiting for someone to take the lead. They all said their goodbyes and used their escape techniques to escape. Lu Jianba's face was unusually ugly. The strength of this iron tear exceeded his original expectations. Although he could deal with it with his own strength, it would be extremely difficult to kill it in the sea. As he watched the powerhouses leave one by one, he could not care less. In a few flashes, he arrived in front of the 5-star martial sovereign and grabbed him. He shouted, "Where's the corpse of Iron Tears that you just killed?" His expression was no longer gentle and elegant. Instead, it was calm and composed, and now it was very ferocious.